Cookie Run Kingdom told us almost everything that would happen in Beast-Yeast 11, and it made the story so much better. Now, I can't really do an essay about good plot twists without spoilers, so ye be warned, as Charcoal Cookie might say. It's a common technique for writers to create intrigue by leaving things purposely vague. Today was the day of the ritual, or I hope this grand gesture makes up for the incident. It's not that CRK's writers don't do this, they totally do. But they also add enough hints that you can take pretty educated guesses about what will happen. In this video, I'm going to break down 6 story reveals we kinda saw coming, why the setup works, and finally, I'll summarize the foreshadowing hints we haven't seen come to fruition yet. Let's start with the more obvious reveals and work our way up to the most hidden. Number 1 is the results of White Lily leaving her friends. In Beast-Yeast 7, White Lily separated from Pure Vanilla and the others on their journey to the Spire of All Knowledge. But her destination was left vague. All she said was that it was right for her to learn more about the Guardian's powers and the witches who granted them. Now, of course, we know she went to the catacombs. The exact location was revealed, but we knew in general she'd be headed to the Land of Silence. Every other ancient has confronted their respective beast in their own territory. And the beasts have all been focused on making their soul gems whole again, whether that's through physically destroying their counterpart like Burning Spice or Mystic Flower attempt to do, becoming partners with their counterpart like Eternal Sugar attempts to do, or saying they want the first option when they secretly want the second, like Shadowmilk does. Bottom line, we all knew White Lily was gonna go find Silent Salt. And we knew she had the same general goal as Pure Vanilla of resealing the beasts. What's new is the results of their quests. Pure Vanilla walked right into a trap while White Lily got much closer to the real answer. Our second reveal of Beast-Yeast 11 is the fate of Pastry Cookie. Back in the Premonition of Doom, Seltzer Cookie mentions a cookie that was supposed to succeed her and Menthol Cookie in their roles but declined. A lot of fans correctly guessed she meant Pastry Cookie, as not only is Pastry Cookie absent from a plot where you'd expect her to be, she and Seltzer have this awkward interaction in the kingdom. Oh gosh, I missed you so! This is too much for me to handle. Now, whether Pastry Cookie was gone because she'd abandoned the faith like Seltzer Cookie seemed to think, or because she was on some super secret mission Seltzer wouldn't know about, that was up for debate. And as it turned out, the truth was a mix of both. She is on a secret mission, but she's not a brainwashed Shadow Sister either. We see her telling an apprentice in a brief flashback, "There is another sanctuary of our order. It holds something I'm looking for." Later, she tells White Lily and Charcoal Cookie that she's on a pilgrimage to hear the witches' voices. She's aware of who White Lily is and how she witnessed the witches baking cookies for the sole purpose of eating them. However, she keeps this to herself as they explore the catacombs. Her journey of self-discovery leads her to seek more information about the Order, while, for the time being at least, keeping her faith intact, which for me adds some much-needed depth to her character. Our third story reveal is Silent Salt's late fall, where we learn he was corrupted much later than the other 4 virtues. For some time, Silent Salt was left alone to protect Cookie Kind from the beasts his 4 fellow emissaries had become. The fact that he was the last to corrupt did come up in the game before Beast-Yeast 11. Specifically, it's on Silent Salt's arena decor. This ornament symbolizes the resentment of witnessing the ancient virtues crumble. Curiously enough, Shadowmilk's decor piece here says he was the first. The history of lies is etched upon this scroll. It was Shadowmilk Cookie who first shattered the peace in the dessert world with his deceit. Granted, I might take anything on the deceit decor with a grain of salt, but he does very much behave like a ringleader when we see him in Beast-Yeast 11. Plus, the fact that Mystic Flower was corrupted by a rumor suggests he at least corrupted before she did. But probably the 2 biggest suggestions that he started everyone's downfall are, 1, this moment from the teaser when Silent Salt has way more weapons pointed at Shadowmilk's soul gem than anyone else's. And 2, his lines as the Azure storyteller. The old chicken and egg dilemma. At times, sloth brings about deceit, destruction is followed by apathy, and while apathy creates sloth, from deceit springs destruction. Ahem. A fable of fate, spinning on and on. In other words, Look, all our corrupted virtues kind of affected each other. I mean, who can really say which one of us started this whole mess? Chronological order of events is such a silly concept. I'm sure we'll get more details on this in Beast-Yeast 12, but for now, I'll just say that it'll make a fantastic contrast if Silent Salt and Shadow Milk are the worst of enemies, while their counterparts White Lily and Pure Vanilla are the best of friends. Our fourth big reveal was Silent Salt's connections to Elder Faerie. This is another point we've seen before it finally got expanded. At the end of Beast-Yeast 10, Sugarfly explains to the others about an honored guest, Silent as the Wind, who once came to visit Elder Faerie. She then goes on to say that the sapling of the silver tree was planted after a long conversation with the guest. Elder Faerie has always been associated with guarding the silver tree and being in charge of the beast's imprisonment. So the idea that Silent Salt somehow assisted him might have been a shocker. Except there was this scene back in Beast-Yeast 8, when Pure Vanilla explains to his friends what he witnessed while he and Shadow Milk were connected. I saw something back in Shadow Milk Cookie's other realm. A glimpse of the past. I saw how he was imprisoned. A faint reflection that he himself probably never noticed. And yeah, sure enough, there's Silent Salt right there. So when we see Silent Salt plotting the beast's eventual imprisonment, it isn't brand new info. It's confirmation and expansion of lore that was already there. But at the same time, I don't think you had to know this was coming to enjoy the reveal moment. In fact, I'm guessing plenty of fans were happy to be surprised by it and glad they didn't dig into all the breadcrumbs. This is where the writing really shines for me. If you leave something vague with no possible way for the audience to unravel it, they feel powerless and frustrated. The Turkey City Lexicon, a collection of specfic tropes to avoid, describes this method of info hiding as used to create cheap tension without having a necessarily tense plot. And the proposed solution is this. Tell the reader outright anything the POV character sees and knows that is of relevance. If it's not a tense item in itself, chances are it will be a letdown when the reader does find out. So make the thing itself tense, and let the reader share it with the POV. There's only a small handful of cookies who know what Silent Salt did, and they've each been allowed to speak their mind when it was relevant. Because the fact that Silent Salt planned the beast's downfall, despite knowing it would mean his own imprisonment too, is a compelling element of his character regardless of when you actually learn about it. Our fifth reveal was that 4 of the beast's minions have existed since the time of their corruption. Until now, we only knew this was true about Cloud Hete Cookie. We see them stepping up to serve Mystic Flower after their mother falls in the Dominion of the Beast story. In Beast-Yeast 11's flashbacks, we see Nutmeg Tiger, Cloud Hete, Black Sapphire, and Pavlova Cookie all spreading chaos in their own unique ways. And while, yes, this is a relatively minor point among the bigger plot twists, it was kind of fascinating to me. We're still unclear on what tied Pavlova to the garden, or where Black Sapphire came from. Nutmeg Tiger's description calls her a great warrior who claimed victory over all the spice tribes. No wonder she swore allegiance to the mighty burning spice cookie upon his return. It doesn't seem like her reasons for joining him have changed much. It's more like she reaffirmed her loyalty when he broke out of the tree, rather than swearing it for the first time. Notably absent from any flashbacks are Candy Apple Cookie and Sugarfly Cookie, who didn't become minions until later. Black Sapphire Cookie says that he practically raised Candy Apple and teases her in Shadow Milk's absence. In the Garden of Delights, Sugarfly recounts how she let Eternal Sugar cover her fairy wings in syrup and served her afterwards out of gratitude for this gift of beauty. So it makes sense why these two might not have been in the picture just yet. The minions have been a staple of each Beast story, and personally, I liked seeing how Cloud Hete's long history was expanded to include the 3 others as well. Finally, we come to the biggest reveal of this story. Silent Salt sealed the beasts without the witches. This is the only plot twist I don't think anyone could have gleaned from the lore available. Pure Vanilla's vision of Shadow Milk's past probably comes the closest to spilling it, but it still would be a stretch to say that from this image alone, the witches were totally uninvolved. In the original trailer for Beast-Yeast, the story goes that the witches stepped in to seal the beasts after learning of all the chaos and pain they were causing. What we now know is that this was simply the lies Silent Salt insisted Elder Faerie pass on to everyone. He doesn't want the tree seal to ever break, so stamping it with the witch's authority is the best way to keep future cookies from messing with it. The lie works so well that the other beasts also believe the witches sealed them away. We've reasonably assumed up until now that they knew how they were imprisoned, especially when one of them claims to govern all knowledge. When Pure Vanilla meets Shadowmilk for the first time, they have this exchange. You used the power of knowledge for evil and reduced it to deceit. The witches took your powers from you and sealed you. To which we get Shadowmilk's very stable and healthy reply of, "And may they burn up in the oven!" But once again, the writing really shines here because even without direct foreshadowing, there was a contradiction in the lore that just didn't make sense without some missing piece of info. We see witches eating cookies for fun through White Lily's eyes. Gingerbread and Strawberry Cookie also ran from a witch who was trying to eat them. Even the CRK art book tells the cookie's origin story as one of waking up, meeting the witches and hoping to be fed, only to learn that they were made to be the food. Even if none of the other cookies at the witches' banquet had life powder in them, the witches lifted a definitely living White Lily out of the ultimate dough and rebaked her just to see what would happen. Up until this point, fans were really divided on how some witches could seemingly enjoy cookie torture, while others were brokenhearted over it. The most plausible theory was just that different witches had different views, although it was also vaguely possible that all the cookie torture was a misunderstanding and sentient cookies were never intended as food. Now that apparent inconsistency is cleared up with the reveal that whatever else the witches think of cookies, they do not get involved enough in their affairs to rescue them. Not even from 4 incredibly powerful beasts destroying them left and right. And before anyone jumps in and shouts, "But the first cookies for Witch's Castle!" I'm sticking to Kingdom lore here, okay? I love how this was executed because it's just one of those reveals that makes a lot of misfitted pieces of the puzzle come together. If the story had been written to make it seem like the witches were always kind-hearted, and White Lily was just confused by seeing non-living cookies, the reveal would have felt a lot more cheap. A "ha-ha, got you" moment from the writers. But anyone can write in a purposefully deceiving way. Walking that line between over-explaining and over-hiding is what's hard. So, with all that being said, what are some of the loose ends and foreshadowing hints we haven't seen settled yet? Well, we still don't know much about the head fork bearer seen in the Premonition of Doom, other than they appear while Pure Vanilla is Healer Cookie. So presumably that's after the Great Flower War. And we know they're associated with the St. Pastry Order, which was formed from Silent Salt's old order, the Colonamic. So it's possible the head fork bearer led the transformation from one to the other. But that's all we've got so far. We also have the mystery of Dark Enchantress's plans. I still stick by my theory that she has completely taken over the St. Pastry Order. I mean, I'm not sure what other order Mystic Flower could be talking about when she tells Burning Spice Cookie, "Teaching apathy is my sole focus. The order is of little import to me." Whatever Dark Enchantress is planning, the beasts are at least partially aware of it. We also have this interaction where Burning Spice asks Shadowmilk why he doesn't want to fight with him, despite being equally powerful. To which Shadowmilk replies, "My friend, there are way more important things ahead." But what the beasts seem completely unaware of are her plans to use their soul gems for her ultimate cookie. Shadowmilk summarizes her supposed views in Beast-Yeast 2 this way. "I've seen the truth of this world. It needs the strength of the 5 great cookies to exist." And when confronted with the fact that he's been gathering life energy for her, he justifies his actions by saying, "Think of it as a fair exchange between colleagues, a favor for a favor, so to speak. After all, Dark Enchantress Cookie built a new body for me." I'm gonna say he wouldn't consider it much of a favor if he knew that she only built that body so she could get to his soul gem. And she likely plans to destroy it once she has that. Also, on that note, this is what, the 3rd time Shadowmilk has trusted someone who plans to betray him in the worst possible way? I feel like this guy isn't too good at detecting lies like he claims. Finally, We still don't know the full details or consequences of what White Lily did during her school days at the Blueberry Yogurt Academy. She describes the first headmaster as someone who first taught Cookie's magic. That, along with some visual hints and the school's name, suggests she's referring to the Fount of Knowledge, Shadowmilk's pre-corrupted self. She then proposes to Pure Vanilla,
"What if we use a piece of the first headmaster's soul in our dough?"
He tells her this is an obviously bad idea, but there was a rift to the dark side of the moon opened up at the school later on. It was the main plot of episode 7 in the Crispia arc, and she mentions it during Beast-Yeast 11 as well.
"Once I opened a door that should have remained shut. Sealing away a spirit requires not only great knowledge, but layers upon layers of powerful spells. The portal I opened had traces of such advanced magic."
And finally, we see White Lily's soul floating through the dark side of the moon in her gotcha animation. And all of this adds up to... I truly have no idea. Honestly, I was kind of impressed White Lily kept her cool as much as she did during this whole thing. I half expected her to have a meltdown like Pure Vanilla did as Truthless Recluse. Maybe that's still coming. Though, if you want to see my take on it early, she does kind of lose it with Shadowmilk in my latest fan-made cutscene. Whatever Beast-Yeast 12 brings, I'm excited to see how the story pieces will come together. Subscribe if you want to see my take on that when it comes out. Check out my cutscene videos, and until next time, happy reading and happy cookie training!